Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at JustKnowTweets and at SheKnowsArsenal. Welcome to the daily download where we'll be going through the most current Arsenal news and transfer news. It's Friday, so yeah, happy Friday, you guys. It's the weekend, and I know that some of you guys have probably been on holiday, if you're in the UK. So you've been on, holiday vibes for a while. In America, we haven't, so the weekend is always something fun to see roll around, even though, like, I don't remember the last time the weekend was relevant to me in any sort of way because when you work in sports, the weekend literally is the work week. And when I was a flight attendant, none of that mattered. Like I didn't have weekends. Like my whatever day I was off, that was the weekend. So never been relevant to me, but if it's relevant to you, happy Friday. The weekend is here. Let's have some fun. So there's 73 of you guys in here already. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be discussing the most recent news surrounding Arsenal and the transfer window. Today, we're going to be going over some breaking news surrounding Gnabry that actually just came out a couple of minutes ago, as well as Tielemans and Gnabry deals being close. And how do you guys feel about those deals? I know that in the beginning of the, learning about these two deals, a lot of Arsenal fans were not happy about them. Maybe some things have changed, over the last couple of days or maybe weeks, whatever. We'll talk about Torreira to Lazio, Real Betis wanting Bellerin on a free, and the bidding war for Aaron Hickey. So make sure you guys are tuned in, get in the chat box, let me know what you guys are thinking. I have not created a slideshow for this one, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So the breaking news is that Arsenal and Real Madrid are interested in Serge Gnabry. So this is coming from Ronan Murphy, and he is a Bundesliga and European football pundit for Sony Sports Network. So take from that what you will. But Arsenal and Real Madrid are both interested in the Bayern Munich winger Serge Gnabry, and that's according to Sky Germany. We know that there are some Serge is not signing his contract at or signing a new deal with Bayern Munich as of now. And so every time that he rejects the new contract, it's like, okay, well, these teams could potentially come in for him. There's been no bids, but Bayern Munich would be willing to sell him for 40 million. Things like this seems like the last rejection was the final one, and they won't come back to it. They won't add anything to it. It's like a best and final offer, and Gnabry is not really trying to sign that one. So they want to recoup 40 million at least for him, and so that's where the likes of like Arsenal and Real Madrid, the interest for him come into play. I did read something around like they want to bring in Sadio Mane to also force him out, to show him like, hey, you're not going to get a lot of playing time if this guy comes in. But it also might be in the best interest of Serge Gnabry, if he does feel like his spot in the German national team is solidified, to just stay at Bayern Munich for another season and then leave on a free the season after, because he might have more suitors then, if the right, opportunities weren't to come about this summer. The report also said that like this could be solved at Bayern Munich. So, we also have to keep in mind that maybe if what Arsenal and Real Madrid are willing to offer, or if those offers don't actually come to fruition, that he may just take what Bayern Munich has offered him. So there's a couple of different avenues here, but I've been kind of waiting for somebody else to actually substantiate our interest in Serge Gnabry. Like, I'm not sure how reliable this is, but it was Christian Falk. Bild also, was saying that we were interested, and now Sky Germany is saying that we're interested. So take from that what you will, but whether or not a bid comes through from Arsenal is yet to be seen. And so, of course, most Arsenal fans, like, I haven't seen not a single Arsenal fan yet, unless they're freaking hipsters saying that they don't want our Serge Gnabry back, or they wouldn't be interested, even if he wasn't a past Arsenal player, this is definitely somebody that would bring the levels up, and I think would put a little bit of a shine on the Arsenal transfer window as it stands. I know that there is some, I think, disappointment that we're hearing Gabriel Jesus and Tielemans, and those aren't really the names that people want to hear. So Serge Gnabry is definitely somebody that I think Arsenal fans would be excited about for more than one reason. But that just came out like an hour ago, and I was thinking, okay, well, there's more than just, Christian Falk saying something. There's other people saying things that are not just Arsenal fans. I still think that this is very early stages, and we have to be really, really cautious about getting too wrapped up in this, because in order for us to get Serge Gnabry, we would have to be able to offer potentially more than what Bayern Munich is offering him now and what Real Madrid could offer him, and also convince him that we're going to be a Champions League team. When you sign players like this that are in their prime, you have to be able to show them a pathway to success via the project. And so the idea that you're going to be able to pitch Serge Gnabry some 3 to 4 or 5 year plan for us to get, into Champions League and win get into the title race, you're not going to be able to do that with a player like that. And I feel like that's probably my biggest apprehension around getting too excited about this type of move, because that would put pressure on the club to put their money where their mouth is and actually push to accelerate the project. And so if they bring in somebody like a Cody Gakpo, they could probably pitch to him like, okay, well, in the next 2 seasons or so, we hope to be in Champions League. And then, we have this 5 year plan to get into the to win the league. You could probably pitch that to him because he's younger. With Serge being 26, 27 years old, it needs to be like, we intend to be qualifying for Champions League through either Europa League or, the league this season, and we expect to challenge for the league the next, so that's the type of pressure that they'd be putting on themselves. And I don't really know if they are ready for that. So, but I was kind of waiting on somebody else to say something. Like, it could not, you know, become anything, but I know Arsenal fans are really excited about this and are hoping that it happens. Mikey B says the package is rather big for Serge. Josh says if we invested so much in Willian, do the same for Serge. Let's see. Keenan says Gnabry hasn't played a full season in the Prem. I know he's a fantastic player, but I don't think it's a guarantee that he hits the ground running for Arsenal. So you think he would have a hard time adapting? Is that what you're saying? I kind of see where you might be coming from with that, but I also just feel like if you're good enough, you'll be fine. Like, I kind of understand, but I do think that, like, I have a feeling that Serge would be fine in the Prem. I really do, because he has the athleticism and the physicality to do so. Lynn says, I'm always here to talk to you. I ran home in Leighton for young people and I loved it. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Diallo says, exactly, Matt G. And then they will. Okay, so what are y'all talking about? Let me go back. What are y'all talking about? Okay, Matt G says, we're not signing Gnabry. It's something the fans have willed into existence. Fair enough. Yeah, it's one of those where you kind of have to wait and see. Like, I don't know that Arsenal are ready to push like that, because again, you'd have to be able to tell Gnabry that this is the plan to get to the league in like the next 2 seasons, and we have a 5 year plan. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. And yeah, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. And yeah, let's move forward. So Jesus and Tielemans deals close. So there's a lot of noise around these two deals. And I have to be honest, like, I do think that these two get done. I think these are our first two deals because these feel like the priorities. It's been noted by multiple reliable journalists that these are our priorities, Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus. There was a report yesterday coming from a Brazilian publication. It's Rodrigo Oliveira from Radio Gaucha. in Brazil that was put out a report saying Gabriel Jesus is very close to signing with the Gunners. He is very suited to English football and wants to stay in England. We know that. We know he wants to stay in England. He wants to be the main man. He wants to be the number 9, and he wants to do what's best for his career. And his agent has already said that they will make a decision after the international break, which I think their last game is on the 11th. The window opens on the 10th. So this is something that I feel like, and he also wants to get it sorted quickly. That's the most important thing, I think, is that he's willing to make a decision quickly. So he wants to get in there and make sure that he's ready to go, has a secure place to be, so that when it's time for, the Brazilian national team to be chosen for the World Cup, he's a part of that. So I think this is something that could happen rather quickly. I think also his willingness to get it done quickly, and Arsenal seeing Gabriel Jesus as a number 1 priority, that could see us maybe paying a little bit more than if we just like waited until the end of the window. But I was having a conversation in a group chat that I'm in around, the whole fee. The reported fee is going to be somewhere between 45 and 55 million pounds. And, I think some Arsenal fans still are getting it twisted that, being a year out from the end of your contract is significant in every single case for every player. It's not. If the selling club is not in any sort of position, like if the selling club does not feel like, if it doesn't matter for the selling club whether or not that player leaves for free or not, then they're not under any pressure to sell for less, right? So that's only relevant to clubs that don't have oil money or don't have Roman Abramovich, right? So when you see like the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea that can always kind of sell their players for a good amount of money, it's because they have attractive players that are very good, that no matter what, they're not under pressure to sell them. So even if they're within a year or 2 of their deal, the price doesn't really go down. Whereas when you look at like Leicester, for example, who's going to potentially sell Yuri Tielemans to us, the deal is ran down. They actually can't afford to allow somebody like Yuri Tielemans to go for free. So they have to sell for less. And so the idea that we were going to get Gabriel Jesus for 25 million was never happening. And they're not under any pressure to sell. They don't want to get rid of him because, again, Pep, the more quality players he has in his team, the better off he is to be able to fight on all fronts. And no player is going to go out there and walk for Pep Guardiola. So he doesn't have to worry about players downing tools or anything like that. So if it were to go up to 55 million pounds, of course, I can understand where some Arsenal fans would be upset by that, because it seems like a lot for a player within a year left of his deal. But who are you going to get for the same or less that's better? That's not a prospect or somebody that you're watching on compilations that looks good playing in a league that's nowhere near as good as the Premier League. That's the issue, is that the market is not very good. The market for strikers is actually very, very poor right now. You have a bunch of I don't want to say overhyped, but a lot of young players that are potentially prospects that are doing well in lesser leagues, and their clubs are trying to sell them for a lot of money. And so it's a risk. And so for Arsenal, it might be a better option to buy somebody that they know has played in the league before. It may not be the most exciting deal to do, but for 55 million, if you're going to get a quality player that can play in your system, and both the technical director and the manager have a relationship with this player, I think that's the best thing, instead of going out there and spending 100 million on, let's say, somebody like Darwin Nunez, who we don't know much about. We're not quite sure about the technical level, and it could be very 50-50 with that player, or maybe they don't hit the ground running. One thing that Arsenal fans are very adamant about is that we hit the ground running. We start the season off well. And if you bring in somebody that needs time to adapt, you may not get that. So for me, it's like, I know you pop Gabriel Jesus in there where Lacazette was playing or where Eddie was playing, and you instantly have somebody that knows how to play in our system and who's going to be a lot better technically and finishing wise than what we had up there anyway. So it's a good deal to me. I want to know what you guys think about the Gabriel Jesus stuff. Let's see. Zach 10 Football says, do you think Arteta will trust Tielemans to slip into the double pivot role in tough games tough game states like we saw Xhaka do last season, or do you think he'll use it as an excuse to sub Xhaka on for Yuri? Um, well, here's my thing with the whole like, Xhaka being some sort of better defensive player than Yuri Tielemans. Just a couple years ago, when Arteta first came, Xhaka was looked at very similarly to Yuri Tielemans, a very defensive liability that can't run, has no athleticism, and now all of a sudden we see him as a better defensive option than Yuri Tielemans. The way Brendan Rodgers plays, he doesn't really have a lot of Leicester are very good attack on the attack because they don't really play positional football. They kind of just leave the back door open and just kind of throw players forward and just hope for the best. And so also when you lose the likes of like Ndidi, that really just throws the system into out of whack. So when you think about how Arteta has been able to change Xhaka into a defensive liability to somebody that people trust more defensively, for why can't he do something similar with Yuri Tielemans? I think it's like kind of I get where the apprehension is coming from, and it's really, I don't know what Arteta thinks about, Yuri Tielemans' defensive qualities, but I feel like if he's willing to use him in his midfield, he probably feels confident enough where he can put him in a position where he doesn't get exposed. Um, so I'm not quite sure yet about that. I think we overstate Xhaka's defensive, qualities and overreact to Tielemans, because Xhaka was very similar to Tielemans just a couple of years ago. So I could see him kind of dropping back into that role. It's all about who's behind him as well. Like if Gabriel is there and we have a solid left back there, then Tielemans, it won't be as big of a deal. But if you have, a left back that you don't really trust, and Tielemans is back there, and you don't have a left center back that you trust, those kind of things I think come into play as well, whether or not you'd want Tielemans there. But I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as people think, and I can see him kind of dropping back a little bit. But I think ultimately he'll play just like Xhaka was playing between December and March, which was kind of like a more attacking central midfielder. And then when we go into our defensive shape, falls into the double pivot with Thomas Partey. Let's see. Arsenio says, going in for Gabriel is a statement of intent. We better get him. Otherwise, I'm going to ask people to organize a protest on a huge scale because I've had enough. Lynn says, bringing in Jesus, Arteta knows him and he will hit the ground running, but any other player is a high risk. And you guys know, like, if I think that the club is doing something stupid, I'm going to say it. Like, you guys know I'm not going to sugarcoat things. So I think about things from both sides. And, I don't think that this is like going to be the Van Dijk Allison window that people probably thought it was going to be. It's going to be a level above what we did last summer, but levels below that. But when it comes to like Gabriel Jesus, I get that he's not that physical presence that people were looking for. They really thought that we were going to get like a Vlahovic or, you know, a bigger, stronger type of physical player. But I think the market also dictates what you do and what you don't do. And even though those players are available, like a report came out yesterday that we had put in a bid for Scamacca. So if you look at it, we tried to get Tammy Abraham, couldn't get him. Tried to get Vlahovic, couldn't get him. Tried to get Scamacca, can't get him. And Osimhen would cost over 100 million. That report came out a couple of days ago that Arsenal weren't willing to go above 100 million for Victor Osimhen. So they're sticking with Gabriel Jesus. And so the market kind of dictates what you can do. And so for me, it's kind of like if the market is telling you that you can't get this type of striker, then you go after the next best option. And because we were going after a Jesus profile and the more physical profile, maybe the priority just shifted. And I don't think that's necessarily something that's going to make me say, oh my God, the club failed. If you went after those players and you couldn't get them, then how is it, you know what I mean? How is it a failure not to get those types of players? So I don't know. It's one of those. I feel like Gabriel Jesus may not be what people were dying for, but that doesn't mean that an opportunity doesn't arise next summer and we can't get that profile then. the idea that we were going to solve all of our issues in one window or two windows is kind of, I think, unrealistic. If you get Osimhen, then you probably don't get your left winger or another winger. You don't get a left back. You know what I mean? So it's give and take there. Ayan says, do you think we would see our main targets come in before Hickey B, AMN, Lucas Torreira leaves? We would struggle on those departments. In my humble opinion, we could see incomings later in the transfer window. Where not necessarily, because we were ready to spend 68 million on Vlahovic. There's money there to be spent, and I think the priorities are going to get done first, and we have the money available to get them done. So that's Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus, maybe the left back. And then everything else will be contingent on whether we can sell the likes of Hector Bellerin, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and Lucas Torreira. So no, I don't think that Yuri Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus will come in at the very end of the window. I think they'll come in first, because there's clearly money there. There's clearly money there to be spent in January. I think it's somewhere around 100 million that we could spend. And then everything else beyond that will have to come from sales, which is a typical window for Arsenal. So no, I don't. I think you're kind of right. And then I also kind of disagree with some of that. We do have to probably sell to buy, but not our main targets. And if we had to sell to buy our main targets, we'd be in a lot of trouble. And that would also be the exact opposite of what every single report has said. CeeLo says Xhaka isn't defensively sound. Arteta just hit his deficiencies, pressed him, and he's out of the game. He probably might hide Tielemans as well. That's kind of my point, is that the idea that Xhaka is a better defensive player than Yuri Tielemans, I think, is an overstatement based on Arteta's coaching and how he's positioned him in the system not to get exposed. And so if you were to place a better player in that position, you could probably do something similar. Yuri Tielemans, like, I saw something, like, maybe I can find it and show it to you guys. Because I also think a lot of this is just based on, like, things that have happened recently. And there's like one or two videos that went out from big accounts, big Arsenal accounts, and they decided that that was the reality around a player instead of just a bad season. But then if it's a player that they really like, then they'll say it's just the environment and all that kind of stuff. Like, you have to like always consider the source, right? And what the agenda is coming from that source. So this is, the ball recoveries by midfielders just a year ago. So obviously Yuri Tielemans has had a terrible year this season, but this is kind of where he was the season prior. And these are ball recoveries from midfielders. So this is defensive actions from midfielders only. Yuri Tielemans was second. And this was in the season where Leicester played really, really well. And Ndidi, I think, was fit. And that's a big part of it as well. When you lose major pieces, we should know this as well as Arsenal fans. When you lose major pieces, things start to fall apart. So if you have somebody behind him and a good defensive structure behind him, and somebody like Thomas Partey next to him, he'll probably be fine. And I don't see, Xhaka anywhere on this list either. So, like, I get it, but I'm not really buying the whole, this is going to be terrible. Tielemans is going to get beat every 5 minutes. Like, he's going to get beat every once in a while, but he'll be fine in our system. So, but yeah, let's see. What else are you guys saying about Yuri Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus? There's 225 of you guys here, so like the video and subscribe to the channel. One Nation says Arteta wants technically gifted, determined, and strong players who can press his olives once his tree blooms outside of his office window. Okay, that's a nice way to say it. I don't mind that. Let's see. I saw a question or something here from Mackie. Mackie said, did you see the Sky report saying Gnabry would be 40 million euros? Yeah, I did see that. It's not really about like how cheap he would be and all that kind of stuff. Like, we know that this would be an excellent deal to do. It's just a matter of like, One is Serge using Real Madrid and Arsenal interest to get what he wants from Bayern Munich? Does he actually want to stay? If he were to want to leave, would Arsenal be able to convince him that the project is working towards a really successful one in a swift manner? Would Arsenal be willing to pay the wages that it would take? To get Serge? Would he even want to come back to Arsenal? Would he prefer to go somewhere with Champions League? There's a lot of other factors beyond how cheap he would be. There's so many different things. Gifty says Jesus, Richarlison, Tielemans, and Zinchenko would be a good window for Arsenal, and this could compete for top four. I do think we'll compete for top four. I just don't know where we'll end up in terms of between fourth and sixth. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be very tough and it's going to be very tight in there. And also depends on how we perform with multiple competitions this season. But that window, like, I think that's a good window. It's not great. If you were to get Gnabry, that would be like an excellent window instead of Richarlison. Zinchenko, I think, would be a better option than Hickey, but that's also based on what I saw the other day. You guys know we talked about that yesterday. I was kind of like alarmed by what I saw from Hickey, but and I also think Zinchenko would be a great left central midfielder. But yeah, that's a good window, I think. So let's see. But yeah, let's see. Lynn says it would be the package and all that would bring Gnabry back. Matt says, with regards Gnabry, I imagine he will defo not he was defo not part of our plans. Therefore, he is available for say 40 million. Hopefully that'll get done in addition to what we intended to originally. We can hope. Yeah, we can hope. It's all just hope right now, isn't it? Zach 10 says, can Gnabry play left wing? He plays right wing for Bayern and Arsenal back in the day. I really want to keep Saka right wing next to Odegaard. I think at some point, like, maybe, like, I wouldn't want to move Saka either, but I think he's really good on the left wing as well. Like, when he doesn't have to shift onto from one foot to the other. I think he's really dangerous as well. Some of his best goals this season have actually come from the left-hand side. So I don't really care who plays on what side. Gnabry can play on the left. He would just have to cut onto his right. He can also play through the center. Gabriel Jesus can play on the left. You would have a very fluid front three that everybody can kind of play on any side. So I wouldn't be too worried about what side people can play on, because if you're good enough technically, you should be able to do it. CC says, I like Richarlison, but he didn't play great for Everton last season. Saying that, who did for Everton? Yeah, I mean, what did he have, like 10 goals or something like that? Let me look. Maybe I may have just pulled that figure out. No, I'm right. He had 10 goals and 5 assists in 30 matches. So the season prior, it was like 7 goals and 3 assists. And then the 2 seasons before that, it was 13 goals. So let's just be real though. Like, Everton are terrible. And they have been for a very long time. So for me, like, I have a hard time, there's players that really excel in really bad teams. And then there's other ones where you could see if they got into a better team, they would do a lot better. So Richarlison for me is like, he wouldn't be my number one choice, but if he came, I would be like, okay, that's definitely better than what we have. And if he can score 10 goals, I mean, that's 15 goal involvements in the Premier League in a really, really terrible side. So if you get like an extra 5 from that, I mean, 20 goal involvements from your winger has to be a good return, right? So yeah, and then you also would have Martinelli backing him up. So I wouldn't be mad at the Richarlison thing. He's not my favorite because he just doesn't have the flair that I like, in the wide player. Like, I'd prefer something like a Gakpo, but I also kind of also want somebody that has end product. So it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? People are asking me crazy questions. Okay, Antonio says, could be AC Milan's recruitment strategy a blueprint for Arsenal? And do you read Ivan Gazidis' recent interview at the Telegraph? What did he say? I do think he's doing an amazing job at AC Milan. And when we talk Beth youth projects in the world, I know a lot of people say it's Arsenal, but I do think AC Milan with, winning the Scudetto and the team that they've built there, I do think you have to kind of look at them as maybe the blueprint versus us. And that's no shade to Arsenal and our Project Youth, but AC Milan are doing a really good job. Their recruitment is pretty good. And it's just crazy what Ivan Gazidis is doing there. But I did not read the article. I will, now that you've kind of put it out there. But like AC Milan, like, because the thing that I think they have done kind of better than us is the senior players that they kind of have in and around their young team give them a lot of value. So we know that they have Ibra, that's excellent value in terms of an older player that you can have. Because I mean, if you talk about soft factors and somebody that can actually talk to the young players about how to win things, Ibra is definitely somebody who can do that. I know he was kind of injured a lot this season, but still. They have also Giroud, which, I mean, when you talk about like older senior strikers that can give you a lot of value, Giroud is definitely up there. And then you have the likes of like Brahim and Rafael Leao, Kessie, Tonali, Tomori, Teo Hernandez. And then they just have so much quality in and around that team. And so, yeah, I think they've done a really good job, and you have to have older players in and around those young players that can actually show them how to win things. And so I think that's kind of what we missed out on. We had older players, but they never won anything. They can't show the young players how to win anything. Yeah, they can show them how to come to practice on time, but like that's not really the type of soft factors we're talking about. So yeah, I think AC Milan have done an excellent job. Craze says, whenever I see Richarlison's name lately, I can't get that recent game he had at Anfield out of my mind when he would, but he is effective and works hard, even though he's inconsistent. Good point. Very good point. Jovam says, Jesus better because he is fast. Okay. CeeLo says, Milan is a good youth project. They mixed it well. I agree. Let's see. Seawalder says Jesus, Gakpo, Yuri Zinchenko is my dream window. W. That okay, I like that too. Let's see. All right. So let's move on to the next subject. There's 250 of you guys in here, so like the video. Torreira to Lazio. So apparently they are interested in little Lucas Torreira, and this is somebody who's got to move on, right? Like I see some people trying to like, okay, well maybe we could keep him, like maybe we could. No, there's no way to reintegrate somebody who does not like to be in London and did not enjoy being at Arsenal. Sorry. But Lazio have come forward for Lucas Torreira. Talks have begun and are progressing well. I don't know how much they'd be willing to pay for him, but it's got to be paid, right? It's got to be, a fee. Can't just be another loan. This is somebody who has got to go. And so the worst part about it is when the player desperately wants to leave and has already kind of said they want to stay at a certain place, you lose a lot of negotiating power. And I think that's pretty much what Torreira will do anyway. Let's say if Lazio doesn't actually come in for him, he'll just wait until the end of the window, refuse to come back to Arsenal, and then we'll be forced to sell him for whatever Fiorentina is willing to give. And so, yeah, we're never really in a position of strength in terms of negotiations. And that's why we usually end up having to just give our players away, which is unfortunate. Torreira is still like, 25 years old or something, 25, 26. And we bought him for like 25 million and we'll probably lose him for like 5 to 7 million. Like, it's just not great, but it just, the same old kind of story where, the players have all the power in terms of negotiations and this in the buying club. And we're just kind of out here like taking 5 million or something for our players. Rajuni says, y'all are more concerned about likes than being professional. Y'all are more concerned about likes than being professional. Y'all are more concerned about like, okay. Let's see. Dublin Gunner says, it feels like this is the third summer we've been asking, will someone please buy Lucas Torreira, please? Yeah, exactly. I agree. It's like once it gets to like 2 or 3 windows, it's like it's time to move on. CC says, boy, bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I mean, I mean, it sucks because I do think he's a really good player, but like it just hasn't worked out. Monty 97 says no one cares about torrential. Okay. No, I hear that. Tony says little Lucas Torreira plays lone six in one of the best national teams. LT is class and we need to get money for him. I would have probably bought his shirt if it had worked out. When he first came in, I really liked him. And I never really didn't. I just, if he doesn't want to be there, then he doesn't want to be there. So what can you really do about it? But we can't get nothing for him, but just because we're always so desperate to sell our players, we just never really have the negotiating power. And they're always running their contracts down, and it's hard, and I don't really understand how Adu works, but he tends to just cancel contracts, right? So I don't know. It's difficult. Question from Zach says, do you think Emmy Martinez can do us a favor and tempt Villa to signing another CM? Torreira was his good friend. He doesn't like the Premier League, I don't think. If he didn't like London, he's definitely not going to like Birmingham. Is that where Villa is? I mean, it's London is like, well, I think no, I don't think he wants to be in England at all. I don't think he liked the weather. You know what I mean? So no, I don't think so. But we just need to try to get one of these Italian teams, I think, to buy him, right? And then there was also like a rumor about Gattuso wanting him at Valencia. I think that's such a strange appointment. I mean, did anybody else think that was strange that Gattuso is going to be managing Valencia? I don't know. It just seemed like what? But they also are interested in him, so somebody has to buy him. But we need to get a fee for him. Keenan says, this is good news on Torreira. I feel like we need to just take an L on a lot of our Deadwood players, including Granit Xhaka. It'll be interesting to see if anybody comes in for Granit as well, because, like I haven't seen anybody be interested in him except for Roma. And it looks like, Jose Mourinho is going to go out there and get all the free signings and guys that he's worked with before and all this kind of stuff. So who knows if he's even still interested in Granit, and even when they weren't willing to even buy him for any significant fees. So we'll see. I would have sold him last summer, when they offered like 12 for us. Dumlin Gunner says, oh my gosh, I just had the craziest deja vu. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking, you guys. This this tweet or this comment, I swear I've seen it before. And I swear I just had crazy deja vu. I'm like, didn't you tell me that before? Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Anyways, let me know if you guys have ever had like crazy deja vu. Let's see. She Knows Football. Thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate it. Says, I look forward to your show every day and thank you for your hard work for producing them consistently. I know it's not easy and you have lots of other work. So thank you. You're always thanking others. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's just fun hanging out with you guys. Honestly, like, this is one of the best parts of my day. Like for sure. John says, never fancied him, to be honest. So you never really liked Torreira. Fair enough. Let's see. Cray says, yes, it's Birmingham. Charlie says, you guys better like Jess videos. You guys like the video. Dawes says, Torreira is such a good player, but England never worked for him. I think that's the bigger thing, right? Is that like England just wasn't his jam. And so, we need to find the fee for him, which is great if we can. And there's multiple teams that are interested in him. So I think what would be best is if other teams are interested in that, makes Fiorentina come up off, this whole, we're just going to wait to the end of the window and try to get him for free. Yeah. So yeah, Gifty says AC Milan have done a great job after leaving Arsenal. Emery won Europa after leaving Arsenal. Saliba and Guendouzi make Champions League and get French team after sent on loan. Is it something with Arsenal? I don't know. I don't know. Emery won. I mean, maybe. I don't think it was all Emery's fault that we didn't win the Europa League. Saliba and Guendouzi, I mean, the French league is so much easier than the Premier League. So, I mean, if you put Arsenal in League One, they'd probably get Champions League. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that question. I just think, Arsenal do have problems, but I'm not sure that every single person has been really successful leaving Arsenal. I just think that there's some that we choose to pick out to fit our narrative sometimes. That's just me though. So yeah, moving forward. We also have Betis want Bellerin for free. They've said multiple times that they know they want Bellerin back, but he knows their situation. So it's almost like I thought the situation was like he has to come down off his wages, but it actually is that they want us to cancel his contract so that they can have him for free. He has 1 year left on his deal, and this is what happens when you set the precedent. This is what happens when you set the precedent, and you cancel a lot of contracts. Then everybody thinks, well, you just cancel this one as well, and they're never gonna buy him with the type of wages that he's on. And they have other priorities because don't get it twisted. Betis want to buy Danny Ceballos and they want to buy Awar. So, they'll buy the players that they actually feel like they will need to buy. They'll actually need to go out there and negotiate for, and that they'll go to Adu and say, actually, you've been canceling contracts, so that's what we want for this guy, and you got to get him off the books. At some point, this kind of has to end. Like I think in terms of the way that Adu negotiates in the market, like I'm not sure that I believe that we need to be canceling contracts this summer. We're beyond the pandemic. I think they gave him a nice little safety blanket where we couldn't really criticize him too harshly on not being able to sell players because the money wasn't there and we had really bad players on high wages. But now we're kind of beyond that, and there's other teams getting money for their deadwood. You look at Spurs, they're going to sell Bergwijn to Ajax. They're also going to sell Lo Celso to Villarreal, and that's their deadwood. So our deadwood should be able to recoup some sort of fee. And I think the biggest test for AD this summer is not going to be the likes of Bellerin, Torreira, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. It's going to be Nicola Pepe. If he does not get anything from Nicola Pepe, he has to go. And because it's just at this point, it's like we need you got to be able to sell competently. Like we don't have the type of owners that can just float bad signings. And that's just our reality. So if you can't sell, it doesn't, because we kind of buy almost every single player at the top market value as well. Like it's very rare that we get a deal on a player. We usually have to buy them at full price to get them to come, and then we sell our players for damn near nothing. And the only player that he's really sold for a good fee has been Willock, and that was the only player that they really loaned besides Ainsley to a Premier League team. And there's been money on the table. There's been money on the table for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, 15 million from Wolves. Been money on the table for Lacazette, 15 million from Roma. And a lot of those deals they've come back to bite us in the ass, so he kind of has to go ahead and get it together. If he can't do it, then we need better, So yeah. Let's see. George's opinion says Adu is being taken advantage of. Marsh says Bellerin can go. This is getting toxic. Grace says Adu, #Adu deals. Arsenio Wonga says Bellerin needs to Fugoof. Butterpan says younger players get better over time, and some national coaches have priority to select players from their home nation's league. One Nation says, "What's going on with America and gun crime?" Um, yeah, I'm not gonna touch on that, but yeah, we're going through it. Unknown user says, "Just let Bellerin stay on reserves." Um, Evs Me Less React says, "People hate Adu. Who do you idiots think signed Martinelli and Gabriel, two players who are good?" He also signed Willian, so it's hit or miss, right? And we're talking about sales. So, the signings that have come in, some of them have been really good, some of them have not. Ultimately, like, it's more than just who did he bring in. Seawalder says, "I'm happy to lose some money on the short term by not letting players go for piss take bids to stop teams thinking it's okay to take those bids." So I guess, like, how long do we let this go on? So, like, by the time the end of the summer, like, we've gotten rid of a lot of our deadwood. There's no more Lacazette. I know that sounds bad to call him deadwood, but you know what I mean. Like, Lacazette's gone. There's no Socrates, Mustafi, Kolasinac. We've been able to get rid of Ozil and Aubameyang. Not saying those players are deadwood, but just players that we know we kind of need to move on from. Who else do we get rid of? Got rid of so many players. So right now it's mostly just like Bellerin, Maitland-Niles, Torreira. Oh, yeah, Guendouzi already left, so it's, like, those 3, and that's, like, it. Like, Holding, you could probably say as well, like, is Deadwood. Um, Chambers, he left. So, there's only about, like, 3 players left. So, anybody that beyond now that we're trying to sell are gonna be players that they probably brought in that haven't quite worked out. If you look at somebody like Tierney, right? Who, I hate to say it, but, like, at some point, we'll probably need to move on from. So, like, I think the real test is gonna come soon, when these players are not really considered deadwood, but there's opportunities to sell properly and replace properly and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the canceling contracts thing needs to stop. Um, it's just it's not working. It's not working. O'Malley says, "What about Rob Holding? He and Cedric have 2 years left on the deal. Do we take risk of waiting?" I thought we gave Rob Holding a new contract. Is it already running out again? But Cedric, I think they're gonna let him run his deal down at Arsenal. I don't know. The reports are saying that they're really excited, like, for him to still be there, and um, or they're, like, pleased or whatever for him to be here. So I don't know if we're gonna. I mean, what could we actually get for Cedric? Like, that's the other thing as well. Like, could we get anything for Cedric? Like, maybe like 4 million or something like that. So, I'm not particularly worried about him per se. Tony says, I get getting rid of our actual deadwood crap players on huge wages and canceled contracts. Our sell list today isn't Kola Mustafi anymore. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Lucas Torreira, Hickey, Pepe are worth money. Yeah, they are. And that's why I'm like, at some point the canceling contracts has to end. And, like, we're beyond that now. Like, we're beyond the whole era of, like, we just need to cancel the contracts because we're in the pandemic and these guys are on high wages and we need to move them on. Like, we're kind of beyond that now. So I would like to see us get money for all those players, but I could see us going down to like 5 million and stuff like that for the first 3. But Pepe, he has to get at least 20 million for Pepe. I'm sorry. Like, I know that he's not that good, but, like, you can't just bring in, like, nothingness for you can't do a dry loan for Nicola Pepe. Like, he has to do something. That's all I'm saying. Dublin Gunner says Cedric is appreciated. Exactly. So speaking of fullbacks, let's talk about Nuno Tavares. So the report came out today around, Arsenal looking to potentially loan Nuno Tavares out for his development. And so, I think that that might be a good thing for Nuno. I don't think it's worked out in terms of, like, it's not that I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he was close enough to Tierney and he wasn't trusted by the manager. So it didn't work out when Tierney got injured. So they want to loan him out potentially, but it may not happen until January, after those group games for the Europa League. So we have quite a bit of players there just in case something happens. And so, I mean, I think that that would be a good option. I think like anybody from, Fulham or Brentford or any of those teams might be interested in him. So, Nottingham Forest, so I think that would be a really good thing for Nuno. He needs a non-pressurized situation to really like kind of thrive, I think. And I think he has a lot of good physical attributes to use that we don't really get the most out of because we don't play to his strengths. So yeah, I think Nuno needs to go on loan. Now, whether or not it should be before the season or mid-season, I'm not sure because I would prefer him to go now and then we just bring in, a left back now. And I don't know if waiting until January means that we won't solve left back this summer because if you want to get Aaron Hickey now, if you want to get Aaron Hickey, you have to get him now because there's a bidding war for Aaron Hickey. So if you want him, you have to do it now. So you can't you know, have Nuno until January and then loan him out and then bring somebody in January. You kind of got to do it now. So I think for Arsenal, they just need to go ahead and bring in the backup left back, make sure that you have it secured and ready to go because Tierney is going to get injured. And then loan out Nuno in January or loan him out at the beginning of the season. Either way, I would loan him out at the beginning of the season. So he has a full 12 months of not at Arsenal doing his thing. He doesn't have to have that disruption in the middle of his season. And it just feels odd to keep him for the first, because it feels odd to keep him for the first, you know, half of the season and then loan him out midway, I think. Feels weird. So yeah, Nuno, I think he should go on loan. It just hasn't worked out, but I don't think that he's like a dead player or anything else. I do think I accepted his chaos a little bit more than others. I was really like a big advocate for him to continue to play throughout the season because I just felt like you're just continue to destroy his confidence every single time you rip him out or you play a midfielder or somebody in his position. And he just needed a little bit of love. And I don't think he really got that. And so, yeah, the way that he was managed wasn't great, but equally, I think it was a punt because we only had like a little bit of cash left at the back end of that transfer window. And so Edu just went out and got who he felt like he could get. Hasn't worked out. Now we need to really reinforce that position this summer. And, the whole, oh, well, we're okay with right back. We're cool like with that. Okay. But like we're going to spend a lot of next season watching Cedric Suarez boot the ball and hoof it into the box again. And for me, it's kind of like I get that Arsenal have priorities in the window, but a priority has to be solving issues that have been really detrimental to our seasons over the last couple of seasons. And that's been fullback for me. I think our season kind of died off when we had to use Cedric and Tavares for a significant amount of games. So to say that right back is not a priority, I get that Ben White can play there. I get that like Saliba can play there. But would I prefer Arsenal to just act like a big club for once and just bring in a right back? And, I would just prefer that, but I know they're not going to do it. Left back has got to get solved. It has to get solved. Like it just cannot. Left back has got to be secured at the beginning of next season. We need another left back, and whether or not Nuno stays really doesn't matter to me. I prefer him just to go out, but if they want to keep him, cool. But it cannot be Tierney, Nuno, Tommy, and Cedric. If we go into next season like that, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be mad. Logic says Tavares is nothing close to a backup left back. He has no clue defensively. What was Edu thinking there? I just think we didn't have a lot of money left. Like, look at what we paid for him, 6 million or something like that. So it was like, what could we get? Do you guys think Bertrand on a free would have been a better option? because those were the two options. We said that at the beginning of the season, a lot of people said that they felt like they would prefer to go with the younger player that could develop versus the seasoned veteran Cedric route. Do you think Bertrand would have been a better option, or do you think that going Nuno was actually the right way? Because like if you only have 6 million to spend, which is aboutish what we had, a small amount, of cash, then what do you do there? Would a older free signing have been better? I remember there was it another player was available as well, the one that used to play for Crystal Palace. What's his name? He's Dutch. You guys know who I'm talking about. He was also available. Um, do you think we made the right decision there with the limited funds that we had? But I do think that it was like we have a little bit of cash, so we're just gonna make a punt on something here. It did not work out. Um, but yeah, Keenan says Nuno has amazing raw talent. He needs a full season of playing to take his decision making and awareness to levels we require for a Champions League caliber player. Um, let's see. George's opinion says Tavares is 6'1", fast, strong, can carry a ball and good delivery. His issue is awareness and defense, but he's very good 1v1. Decision making also needs work, a lack of experience issues. I mean, the fact that he's pretty two-footed, like you said, he has the physical attributes to be really good in the Premier League. I just think he'd do really good as a wing back in a three-back system, because he's not quite a winger and he's not quite a fullback, and you can help him with his defensive awareness, but ultimately his best attributes are always going to be carrying the ball and bombing forward and adding that offensive sprinkle in there. So I do think that, Tavares needs to go and play for a three-back team. That would really help him out. Um, and yeah, just limit the amount of like pressure, because playing for Arsenal is like a really pressurized situation from minute one. And I just don't think he really dealt with it really well, but it's the experience, like you said. So yeah, like I think Tavares could be a really good player. Maybe not ever like a technical wizard or anything like that. But definitely a weapon. Um, let's see. Captain Joker says, Racismo, um, Nuno done good when he was playing a good run of games. He goes out on loan and it's a disgrace. Um, I thought that Nuno did good, in the beginning. When people thought that he should take Tierney's spot, there was a lot of debates, and I was like, probably not, but he should take Tierney's spot. And that's when he had confidence. When he lost his confidence, he became a liability. So we can see how quickly, and this is the thing with Arteta. Like, I don't, we see players lose confidence really quickly, based on the way that they're managed by Arteta sometimes. And so I think this one was not good. And he wasn't able to keep Nuno on side for the entire season. And so it hurt us in the end, because if you have the Nuno that you had at the beginning of the season for the entire season, I think we're fine. But it is what it is. I don't think sending him out on loan is a big deal. All right. One Nation says Aaron Hickey means applauding for playing football in a foreign country. UK players are home birds. Speaking of Aaron Hickey, we'll talk about him really quick as well. There's a bidding war for him. The report says that Brentford made a bid for Aaron Hickey for 11 million euros, plus a sell-on percentage. Bologna rejected it. They want no less than 20 million euros. And Arsenal are making a bid for 25 million euros. So basically, I think the holdup with this deal is that there's other teams coming in, and obviously Bologna wants to make sure that they drive up the price, and the deal that they have, or the offer that they have from Arsenal, that nobody comes in with something more. So this one might take a little bit longer to get done, which is also why I think some of the English media have distanced themselves from this deal, just in case it doesn't go through. But this is kind of like a normal thing. We've seen this before. This happened to us with Gabriel, where we pretty much had the deal done, and then all of a sudden, like Napoli and Man United wanted to get involved, and then Lille held off for a little bit just to make sure that they could continue to drive the price up a little bit and add um, more clauses on and things like that. So this is pretty normal. Um, I'm not going to hold that one performance over Aaron Hickey's head, because I've been told by many people that actually watch Serie A on a regular basis that the guy is good. Um, and we always think that Brentford have really good recruitment. So if they're looking at him, then he's probably pretty good. But he's also 19. So again, one thing that I did notice about him is that he did look like a boy in a little bit in playing in that game. But I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, when you paid 25 million euros for somebody, which is like 21 million pounds, that's a lot for somebody that's considered a backup. So I don't think he's actually going to be a backup. I think he's going to push for the starting position. We know Tierney's brittle and he's going to be injured for a certain amount of time. It's just a matter of like whether or not Hickey can adapt to the speed of the Premier League right away, which will be interesting to see if he can. But I'm still all for this deal because I have watched players before and they came to Arsenal and they were fine. Maybe I was just freaking out a little bit. And during the window, like sometimes your emotions can get the most of you. You see one bad clip or one bad performance from a player, you just decide, oh my gosh, no, it's too big of a risk. But I've heard from enough people that this player is good. And I think I've seen enough from him where I think it's fine. If I had a choice between him and Zinchenko, would I choose Zinchenko? Probably. But, this seems fine, but there is a bidding war for him. So, I think this one might take a little bit longer to get done. Mikey B says Brooke Norton-Cuffy is ahead of Hickey in his development, albeit on the other side of the pitch. Is he? Because we haven't seen Brooke Norton-Cuffy. I mean, Brooke Norton-Cuffy is what, 18, and Aaron Hickey is 19. Aaron Hickey played for Hearts as a really young kid and then went over to Bologna from Italy and has played for them. And Brooke Norton-Cuffy is playing for a League One team. So if you're saying that League One is on the same level as Serie A, then fair enough. But I don't actually feel like he's that much further ahead. I think they're two different types of players. I think that's a big part of it, is that Hickey is not necessarily he's not a P&P guy, you know what I mean? But I don't think he's ahead because I don't think you can compare League One to Serie A. That being said, I want to see Brooke Norton-Cuffy go to like a championship team and see how he does. Let's see. Arsenio says, I'm just praying we don't fook the signings up this summer. We Move says, I don't know what these guys see in Hickey. Jermaine says, that's how much we paid for Tommy. CC says, another young player. Yeah, I mean, he is a young player. I don't think the club are quite ready to move on from Kieran Tierney. And I would say that one thing that does kind of annoy me about Arsenal is I do feel like we tend to want a really young player, developmental player behind a solidified starter. I think the best teams kind of have people competing for places. So again, if you gave me a choice between him and Zinchenko, I would choose Zinchenko because he could legitimately take Tierney's spot. But if my option is Nuno Tavares or Hickey, I'm probably going to choose Hickey because at least I know that he's played at a high level, a significant amount, like more than Nuno did before he came to us. But I hear what you're saying, like more young players doesn't make me happy, but that's how the club kind of operates, One Nation says Danny Ceballos couldn't deal with Arsenal pressure, then won the Champions League with Real Madrid. I mean, like I get what people be trying to say, like, but let's keep it real. Like Danny Ceballos wasn't out there, balling out. Like he was coming in to close out games for like the last 5 minutes of games. He's also playing with a better caliber of team. And like He's not expected to be the guy that like he even said that Casemiro, Modric, and Benzema, I think, were playing cards the night before the Champions League final, and he was bricking it. Like he could barely sleep. Whereas when he was at Arsenal, he was meant to be one of the more senior, the better players on the side. So, I do think like if you put Saka in the Man City team, he'd probably be just fine. Because he's not meant to start every single game. He's not meant to have the team on his back. Everybody's not looking at him like you do it, but when he's at Arsenal, he's the guy. And so he'll break a little bit under the pressure. I do think like sometimes we forget that these are like literally a bunch of kids out there trying to do it on their own. And the senior players that we have are just not doing the business. So they are under massive pressure. And so if you put, let's say, Nuno Tavares in Watford, no, not even Watford, Brentford, and who's safe from relegation and they have nothing like to worry about and they're just playing for fun, he'd probably do just fine. Or if you put him in the Spurs team, who, he's playing around a bunch of players that are more experienced than him and they're senior players that you can look up to, then maybe he's just fine. Arsenal does not have the right balance in their squad to really support the young players because we're under way too much pressure because we're a big club or we're a big club that has declined and we don't have the senior players for the young players to look up to. It's just a completely different scenario. Danny Ceballos was coming in to close out games. Let's not act like he was out there really balling it up. Let's see. Monty says Ceballos played like 10 minutes. Exactly. Like that's why I'm like, it's not really comparable. Let's keep it real, the pressure you could literally see that the boys crumbled under that pressure at the end of the season. Like it's a big deal. Keenan says, with the whole Tavares saga, we should honestly just bite the bullet and sign Hickey, him for 25. He starts for his national team and will do just fine as a backup. Zach 10 says, now that we play a 4-3-3 and the system is more settled, don't you think Ceballos would do much better? Yeah, I mean, I do think that, he didn't play in the best era of Arsenal because we really struggled with possession and in our game wasn't as advanced. And I know people really like, oh, we haven't improved at all. And I understand we haven't improved probably as much as we should have. But do you guys remember the horseshoe of death? Do you remember how Xhaka and Danny Ceballos were our main midfielders and they would be like basically locked into that space right in front of the back three? Like we played so much differently back then. And so I do think Danny Ceballos might do a tad bit better, but like there's something about him where he just is not, as a midfielder, progressive wise, like he doesn't give you enough passing wise or dribbling wise or goals wise, where I don't think he'll ever be somebody that a team really wants to rely upon. Like the amount of chances that Odegaard gives you, it's worth starting him even if he doesn't score goals. Thomas Partey doesn't score goals, but his ball progression is so good. Danny Ceballos doesn't do anything in an elite way. So I don't really know if anybody would want to choose him as a starting central midfielder, especially on a really good team. But yeah, I think he might do a little bit better now, but like I would never want him back at Arsenal, like ever. Saida says, for someone who worked at City, I'm baffled Arteta doesn't understand the importance of quality squad players. He always mentions it, but when you look at who he relies on, it doesn't translate. I think Arteta's more concerned at the moment around the having players that want to play for Arsenal and the good feeling around the club. So instead of choosing talent, which I don't think it's as simple as this, but like at its bare bones, like if we were just to strip it back, he was like, I'd rather have Xhaka over Guendouzi, because Guendouzi's not going to listen to me and he doesn't have a good attitude, whatever. I'd rather keep El Neni than keep Ozil, because Ozil's not listening to me and at least El Neni wants to be here. And then now that he's kind of stripped the team back to the guys that really want to be at Arsenal, then now he's probably trying to improve the first team and then we'll work on squad depth. Not what I would have done, but I feel like that's what he's trying to do. He needed to get a group of players that would listen to him because they were not listening to him. Um, you guys also, I mean, I did like Danny Ceballos at first, but there's just too many bad memories now. So yeah, basically that's all the news for today. The other little bit of news was that Carl Hein is to become the third goalkeeper, which is interesting because Arthur Akwanko was going to be the number 3, but he's going to be sent out on loan, and now it's going to be Hein. So not necessarily anything that I think we need to be really concerned about, but that was something else that came out today that I just wanted to kind of touch on. But I know a lot of people are asking about like what would be a good window for me, and what would I be happy with. And I would say that, like, in regards to who we've been kind of linked to without any, like, alternate reality summer windows, I would say Tielemans, Gabriel Jesus, um, Aaron Hickey. Um, Sorry, there's a spammer. Um, Aaron Hickey, some sort of left forward. So I've seen some loose links to Dan Juma and then also Cody Gakpo, if you get one of those guys. And another central midfielder, that would be a good window to me. And if Saliba signs a new contract and Saka signs a new contract and Gabriel signs a new contract, if you get those things done, I'd probably be happy. That would be as good as, I mean, it wouldn't be like my ideal window, because my ideal window would include more, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that probably would be good enough for me to think that we did the right things. Tony says the hardest part of this project is knowing when to switch from project youth to win now. I think this is shaping up to be the transition year. Yeah, and I think Arteta has said enough in his, like, his interviews about, like, not necessarily young players again. So I think that's why you see the Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus is coming in, and then it's like, they can win now, but they can also win in the future because they have enough time left because they're only like 25. I think it's just hard because you either go, like, we've only done win now or project youth, and we seem to make decisions um really binary decisions, and there's nothing really in between. So you don't want to do anything short term because it'll hurt project youth so badly. And I don't necessarily feel like that's really the case. I think that you can make some decisions in the short term that help push project youth forward without necessarily destroying it. Um, but we'll see. Like, I think all of our signings will kind of be level raisers, but not quite like world class signings. And I think I'm okay with that as long as the players that we brought in, especially that core 4 of Ramsdale, Ben White, Odegaard, and Tomiyasu, all improve. And then the likes of Saka, Martinelli, and ESR also improve. And then you can figure out a way to supplement Tierney and Thomas Partey's injuries with quality. I think I'm fine with that. And then we just have to see from there, because as disappointed as I am with the end of the way that the season crumbled, I'm not going to act like I didn't see us playing really good football from like November to March. And if we could have just sustained that, we would have been good. We need to score more goals. I think that'll come naturally with a better midfielder and a better striker and another left winger. And we just need to have better backup. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Um, let's see. Some of you guys asked like the weirdest questions, like Ant Project. Why are Arsenal a dead team? I mean, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? Some of you guys ask crazy questions. Lancel says, I see the pull for Zinchenko is this back to Tierney for first teamer. Sorry, I'm a rival just to come to show support. I don't know. Zinchenko, I don't know. It said that he was going to be brought in as a midfielder. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and end it there because it's Friday and it's time to do something else and enjoy the rest of the day. Luca FC, I do think we'll get Tielemans. I think all signs would point to the fact that we're probably going to get Tielemans. But yeah, let's see. Zach 10 says you should do a video on who you think improves the most next season. Yeah, for sure. Those videos will come. Finally got in contact with Diluted, so maybe I'll do a show with him about that so you guys can have another opinion beyond just mine, because I know you guys like that kind of stuff. But like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you guys are, sharing this with a friend, and get in the comment section after the fact and let me know what you thought about this video and what you guys think about the links and all that kind of stuff. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, unless I don't know if I'll do a video tomorrow, but definitely on Sunday. So make sure you guys look out for that. And I'll see you guys in the next